Icicle slides down a power line, a bead, all lights noon light to a degree. A few degrees of noon light low on the wind veins ankle charm. Sun never moves, hawks lines of flight, ice. There's the calmness of light in old houses. There are bricks in Flemish bond, alternating header and stretcher, tulip poplars poking around a miniature chapel. These things are knowledgeable, deep sills in the thick walls, and explanation is only apology. No idea worth a grain once it is memory, dear, all food being solely appetite suppressant, I stir the oats. The paint chips toward. Last night, moonlight held back clouds, ringed like a roof hole one might view it through. Does dark mean blank? I drew a dark each time one asked after you. There's nothing in this light you cannot see, definitively. Cooper's hawk in the apple tree, in the locust tree, through the painted clays of sycamores. I fell 100 score, brought home 100 shoveled tablecloths, a single still sizzling snowflake wrapped in the classifieds. Dear seed in snow falling or blowing of desire, you said what made you a wolf has now made you a woman. Like marketers for their ultimate faith in longing, stood in a doorway near a sea, dear, lissome, in dissembling sheets, early light, your room occurring to me as snow does to a mountain. This is a sequence. The idea is to just kind of pull in through description, use language as a way of seeing almost. I'll just do a couple more sections. And here is the snowling junco on seasoned wood, snow long. One may be many things and have a temperature, and all the emotions made for men as sun was for the shed roof's tin. Ice slides from a slant, sloppy tracks to the shingles. Snow atop stopped cars like siren bars, fields in cloud-caught light, streets salt white near sun-eroded brick. The lights hanging perforations like phone slips on a Pole's poster for something lost. There are no narratives, economics, or theology, only the geologic triad, heat, pressure, time, dear. I've seen the need to go to extremes so they won't come for you. Snow no longer melting, but melted to its presences, readhering outside the frozen swamp by billboards blank or hand-painted or billboards dark, rising fog, hand-painted ice, insist there is nothing that is not green. There are several poems in this book that start with the line, I suppose I do believe in nothing. And the idea, I'll read a couple of them. The idea was to start with a line that felt like an ending, and then find a way to go on past that, past what could be a stopping spot. I suppose I do believe in nothing. Some were literally skipping. Football on screen, a choreography, mimetic of egg smell and leaves, found fondness deepening and forgiving as all failed more. I suppose one could get interested in things, technology, pragmatic jokes, sweatshirts, concession stands. Yet we do not have feelings but have everything else through them, as who could tell a feeling's cause from what one in it latches to. The proprietor passed her hard candy so she could not bite her nails. I could not read Beckett because it seemed too much like everything. I could not tell if I'd read all of Beckett or merely gone outside. I suppose I do believe in nothing. The live thing brown in a bright bush, earthy swallows, and loneliness, a washed-out wanted poster. Can't our solution be, it's not a problem? Pyrocumulus, the forest fire conducts its own weathered system. Electric razor smell of an old camera, and white floral room at the rear of a church some priest goes brightly to. The tears are wax. The candles are warmed by hand. It preserves the wick, much as you might think the soul. At the library, one stamps each inside page, and I feel similarly marked. They removed everything they could from the eunuch, thinking it might make his song ever more pure. And now, so this is a book. Rescue Press is a publisher in Milwaukee that's doing a lot of really interesting things. Things that wouldn't exist otherwise, much as what we want from art, right? It wouldn't exist otherwise. They're doing poems and fiction, also books like this that are hard to classify, and I can't imagine how else they could come out. But it's the kind of book that I like to find. You can see their books in the back. These are all for sale. I'll just do a short section from early on called Holyoke Fences. The book is called Events Film Cannot Withstand. In a strange year in my life, I found myself living in Holyoke, Massachusetts, the birthplace of volleyball flushed with defunct mills. Ladders lean out second-level windows, festive, deflated inflatables serrate yards. A man shakes his hair dry, tarp on a skylight. And so many fences I love that run along part of a house, then simply stop, keeping nothing out. And fences made from boards merely leaning against wire. A load of cabbage dumped in an alley on a torqued mattress. My father said, you can put canvas over barbed wire if you ever need to climb it, but why would I? And if I did, would I have canvas or the time to think of it? But I love most his need to teach such. There was an elf in the raspberry bush with a time car. I want to write you a beautiful book of prose, the kind you will love but find best for carrying, never reading. Yet, can you please think of this as the book ever ripe for a bag or for sitting with, as though this may be the time finally, or you can use it to save a seat. Time and temperature the same on the bank clock. I watched John Wayne movies with the bartender. Summer I went out at dusk to exercise my crutches. One is bound by wanting to assert, insist, continually prove that this world is enough, is everything we want, if we are willing to want it enough, and wanting to say art can transform it, incite ourselves, find the better ongoing or underlying, momentarily hovering through. Yeast is a metaphor, and also a fence's paint that looks most like the color you want the instant it comes off the brush. But still, how the boards absorb in the bucket. I love these fences that to go over you may simply walk around. As I love some lines around my eyes, I feel you could cut a key to match them. It could unlock a door. I could have been standing before it unknowing, perhaps in a flash, like a man struck by lightning on the highway for an hour before somebody stopped to help. In Holyoke, Massachusetts, I watched a man at the bar with a hand on his forehead. I thought first holding his head up, drunk, but really he was holding a bandage on. The hardware man came in the mailman. The guitar player asked everyone to move to the far end of the bar to hear. I honestly once believed disaster was through everything, only sometimes unmanifest yet. I named rock formations and sought to find them. What is the name of this forest? You know there's a river there by the trees there. You can just walk around each one to reach the river. The emergency exit is only painted on, and the room behind it full of old mattresses. I spin a bit to find where I am. And while I know my friends will read this, I have not fully considered the blunt audience of small children who older will find a shelf their parents collected and forgot for life. I remember when your only word was Degas, little Esme, like his reincarnation or one summoning it. We hunted dragonflies on the ebullient yard. I have such public library pronunciation. I don't know how to say words, but I know what they are. It's good public education. Most of what your parents and I have said to each other, we have forgotten or would now disagree with, so please say it. English is a second language. The man we met late the night before left 3 white fish on a post. Honey wine. Plastic bags over our shoes to walk through the snow to the school bus left in a field. Her druggy brother sharpened the Thanksgiving knife wildly. We find ourselves outside the stories. The loss of honor is the loss of pride. You and I, persistent, have gained something we love through unconventional means. Now to preserve it, I find myself wanting to summon conventions which run counter to what one loves, much as any experiment enters a university's humanist brick. To never become one who from excessive love of one thing does not recognize that love elsewhere. And I would like to be surprised. Just do one more page. I don't know if I should filibuster because Danny's coming, or if we can adapt some other way. Do two more bits. The idea with this book was to write about art and poetry without mentioning art and poetry, to resist the urge to be a teacher, really, or to quote, but to talk about the experience, which is what I love. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to the music, looking forward to Danny's poems, which we might have to write as a group if he doesn't come. It tunes you, right? It tunes your brain, forcing these weird things through it. You may have known me during the time I studied chronic pain and numbness. I had experience of them. I believed hewing to such states could render a closer honesty. And then 1 month I kept a pain notebook. And a month later, I looked back and found it never mentioned pain. It described snow instead, an inseam in words, a posthumous terminal hour I preferred certain crosswalks at. To be a connoisseur of nothing you can see. I love the moment of stutter most, speaking in the mosaicked room, how I felt obliged to say beyond the limit of what I can easily say. I was the world's oldest teenager, how the many square tiles of the mosaic came to form a curve, my posture better in a field or the dark. No, the stutter that goes on, not merely fingers ethereal on guitar strings or the breathing of a singer haunting the tape. We are not so weary and broken that merely any present voice will do, nor merely silence, but want the more so of stutter and going on, the aid of eyebrow where you can touch my neck, as clapping can keep time for a breaking voice, as now you may behold the mosaic from a distance up to 1 mile. This cut will not heal without staples. The woman told me a perfect radio could still hear Moses in the air. Then, as a match loosed down a well achieves its most telling sense by going dark, she closed her eyes. There is the moment still life painting shifted to show pouring wine, a spun coin, candle flame, the entire snowy field at dusk. I stand under a tree I can identify for flowers. I open the book and call whatever I do reading. More and more, I appreciate the stone tower's clock. It strikes once for past and doesn't bother with the hours. Even what doesn't repeat is a pattern. You can recognize the horizon because you are standing there. Remember that we lived at the sea. A Holyoke fence, then, is anything you believe obstructs until you find you're examining it from every angle to figure out how to get through it, and you see you have already gone around. I've been trying not to quote, but find myself thinking of Theodore Rutke since I've never not been in love. What lover keeps his song? I sigh before I sing. I love because I am a wrapped thing with a name. You know I rely too much on memory, so cannot tell you how the punctuation goes, or if I have ever read those lines before. How about a little more life in your life? Could you go for some right now, right now? Also, there's no inferno, only the body, and the preemptive apologies that true love pretend. Think of a tin can phone, and you are the string between them. That's all. Thank you very much.